Hey Nerdy Knitter, it's the end of another month and that means another monthly knitting roundup, so grab a drink and your knitting and let's settle in for a good chat. So before we dive right into the knitting, just a couple of announcements. First of all, there is a Swatch to Sweater group coaching program coming up in the fall. It'll run between sometime in mid-September to November. So about a 10-week program where I will walk you through the process of knitting a sweater from a swatch and your body measurements and a schematic to finishing that whole sweater based on your body measurements and your swatch measurements. I'm going to walk you through that process specifically for a bottom-up drop shoulder sweater. I'm going to do this again in the future using different sweater constructions, but we're going to start with a pretty simple one because of, if this is new to you, if you've never knit a sweater from scratch without a pattern, I want to walk you through that process, and I'm going to be knitting along with you. Mine is actually going to be, I'm planning to do a tutorial, a whole video tutorial like I do here on the channel for knitting this type of sweater, but I'm going to start the process for those who are more interested, who don't need like a beginner tutorial on how to knit a drop shoulder sweater, but they want to know, how do you knit a sweater when all you have is a swatch and some body measurements? So we're going to walk through that whole process in this group coaching program. So you can learn to do this for your own body, for somebody else's, like as long as you have some body measurements and you have a swatch, then I'm going to walk you through that whole process. But if that feels a little scary, but you still want to do like the group coaching part, the other sort of second track would be to use, let's say like Ann Budd's Handy Book of Sweater Patterns or Amy Herzog's Ultimate Sweater Book, something that already has like all the numbers, like just a base pattern, and you can add your stitch patterns and make any changes to, you know, like the edgings or anything you want to do to it, but you have sort of a base pattern with all the numbers figured out for you. Then you could use something like that and then like make your customizations on top of that if you don't want to figure out all the math on your own, but you still want like sort of that guidance to help you and you want to join the group coaching program. There's a waiting list linked down below, and that will be opening in September. And the last thing is a new pattern release for a summer lace tank. So this one is using sock yarn. About 3 skeins of yarn is the most you're going to need for any size because there's no sleeves. It's just a back and a front. You sew them. It's all over lace. This is not a beginner friendly pattern. This is more like for intermediate to almost maybe advanced, because I mean the lace is charted and it's written out and like the body's knit straight, but then you get to the armhole shaping and the front neckline shaping. You have to do them both at the same time. Plus you have to keep maintaining the lace pattern, and it's not sort of all spelled out for you. It's not charted out like with all of the decreases for the neckline and the armhole. It just tells you, you know, maintain the lace as you're doing all these decreases and shaping. So that's what makes it like not beginner friendly. But I do have a video sort of to walk you through that part of the process, like how to do that. It's not really super hard. You just have to mark out like all of the lace. I just think it's, what is it, an 8-stitch repeat? So you mark out like every 8 stitches so you can maintain that lace while you're doing the shaping. But that pattern is out now if anybody's interested in that. But definitely it's not for beginners specifically. That's it for announcements. Now we can get into the monthly knitting recap, what I've been working on for the past month. I recorded this section of the video last month when I recorded that podcast episode. So we're going to see what my plans were for the month, and then we'll get right into what I finished and what I'm working on, and we'll actually see if I accomplished what I intended to finish over the past month. And one last thing before we get to that is our sponsor for this episode. So this episode is brought to you by Yarnable, which is a monthly yarn subscription box. They've got different variations. Now you can get sock, DK, worsted weight. They even have different like sort of bundles. You can get the no frills bundles, that is just the yarn and nothing else. Or you can get like the regular package with all the little fun extras, or deluxe box with more yarn. Lots of great options, but that's our sponsor for the month. So you're going to want to stick around for the end because we're going to be doing a giveaway from Yarnable. I have 4 things sort of on my needles. I'd like to get these all finished before the next podcast. So first up is this hat, the Filigree Slouch. I'm on the 2nd repeat of the pattern. I think I have to do 3 repeats altogether and then the crown. It's kind of slow going because it's all purling, and I think I purl much more slowly than I knit. But I mean, otherwise it's fine. It's just a twisted stitch pattern. There's really not much to say about it. I just need to get cracking on it. I'd like to get this done. I'm also working on a cowl that's using Handspun yarn, And I just started that one day at church. I needed a new project to cast on and I need something easy for on the road, that kind of thing. So I started it. I'm just going to keep going till I pretty much run out of yarn until I think it's tall enough. For like my husband, he wants like a one he can pull up over his face, you know, over his mouth and nose and whatever while he's out shoveling and stuff. So this is easy enough. I should be able to get this done. So the Calm Night Cami I haven't even cast on yet. I'm still in the swatching phase, but it doesn't look particularly hard. It's plain stockinette. You do like the top is knit flat, but then you join in the round. I hope I get it done by the time we get to the next podcast, but we will see about that. Then also I have this shrug on the needles, and I think I'm making really good progress with this. I think I can easily get this done. It'd be nice to have it done so I can have it to wear over like summer dresses, at least for part of the summer. So that's what's currently on the needles. I do have a few other projects I would like to get on the needles as well, but we'll see how that goes. So I've got some hand spun yarn. I want to knit a pair of gloves for my daughter. I want to do the English tailored shoulder shaping. I hadn't done that before. I'd like to do that. So I've got the Gullane Tank. So I haven't even cast on, haven't swatched or anything, but maybe get that started. And then also to get through some more Yarnable yarn, the Canaan Hood. It's been on my list for a while and I've got some yarn all caked up for it. So maybe I'll get that cast on as well. And also in the summer, I find I like to do like small crochet squares, you know, that I can put into a blanket because it's just smaller, not so much on your lap. And I still have a bunch of leftover Knit Picks Brava Sport from doing 2 other blankets. So I'm going to do like a scrap crochet blanket as well. So I think that's it for what I'd like to do in July. So these 4 projects over here, I'd like to get done. We'll say 3 definitely. The Calm Night Cami, we'll see about that, and then get some others cast on as well. So I only have one finished project for the month, which is the Filigree Slouch hat. It's all been washed and blocked and a new pom-pom put on the top. So, and it came out really, really nice. I'm really liking the finished pattern here. So you can see that twisted stitch pattern, twisted stitch hem or cuff down at the bottom. And then it goes right up. Well, you do stop up here at the top. I don't know if it's going to show up very well. And then you're just working in reverse stockinette. But I really like how this came out. The color choice, I think, was really a good choice for this one. So this yarn is Yarnable, the Neon Grafitti. This is an August 2024 colorway. So it's a sock yarn, 8515 Superwash Merino nylon. And so variegated yarn with lots of these fun neon colors and some black in there. And I like how it came out with the reverse stockinette and that twisted rib. Like it almost kind of spirals around in these little stripes in there. I think it came out really nice. Pattern was really great, easy to follow. Nothing difficult about that. I did make my own stupid mistake. There is charts and written instructions. I was using the written instructions and I wasn't paying attention. There's like 2 sections where you're doing the same thing for 4 rounds and I missed that. So I moved like from round 7 to round 11 or something. And then I'm looking at it and realizing, oh, that was real. Something is not right here. And then I looked at the pattern and realized I had like skipped 3 rounds in there that I should have done like all the same knitting for 3 rounds straight. I had to pick that out once, but then I made a note to really watch that. So every time I came to that section, I knew don't stop and like, you know, skip right ahead to the next round. Like you've got to do this round 4 times, not just the once. But other than that, everything else was totally fine. Really nice pattern, another finished hat, some Yarnable yarn left over. So I didn't even use this. This is a nice generous skeins. I think it's 430 something yards. I can't remember now. So definitely enough to finish a hat. Maybe, not sure there'd be enough for like maybe a small pair of fingerless mitts. I don't know. This will probably just go in my leftover sock blanket. I've got a bag for like all my leftover bits of yarn. Got one for like worsted and DK weight and then another for like sock yarn and stuff. So probably toss it in there. And then I don't work on them much, but I've got a couple different sock weight blankets in there, like a mitered square blanket and stuff. So that will probably just get added to that box or bag and then used up eventually. But another finished project. I'll add this to my pile of I just keep a bin of, well, we have plenty of hats and mittens and stuff here. Then again, I like this hat. I might keep this one for myself. But I keep a bin of, you know, like things to like either give for gifts or take, like when I go visit family, you know, I take the knitting stuff that's kind of accumulated, and I take it and I'll let my family like pick what they want from that. So, but I don't know. I was thinking about doing that, but I really like the hat. So I might just keep this one for myself. But that's the only finished thing I have this month. I've got quite a stack of things that are on my needles still. First of all is the Scarborough Shrug. Now I just bound off last night with the front. This is the front. So right now it's just a big rectangle. That's all it is, but it's all finished. Fun pattern. I really enjoyed this one. So the next step is to just like turn this rectangle into a shrug. Like you're just going to take the two ends and sew two sleeves basically on both sides, and then leave the middle open, and then that's your sleeves. Then I've got to pick up stitches around the opening here, and then around like the body part, and finish that. I think that's done in garter stitch. I'm probably going to do reverse stockinette instead. I haven't looked at the pattern for that bit, but so I just have the finishing left to do, and then I'll have this. I wanted it for the summer, closing in on halfway through, so I should at least, I would like to get this done before I leave. We're going to go visit family for a month or so. I'm taking a couple of like summer dresses with me, so it'd be nice to have this done so I can just wear them over my dresses. But I should be able to get this done this week. So the major part of the knitting is all done. So I just need to, sew it together, pick up stitches and do the finishing, and then weave in the ends. But great pattern. I actually think I'm going to design one of these myself, just these little shrugs. I'm going to go look for like some really fun, interesting lace pattern, and maybe we'll do a design for that for next summer maybe. But I really like this simple, you know, it's very simple knitting, just a big rectangle. That's all it is. And then some finishing at the end. But the majority of the knitting is all done for this. So the yarn for this is some bare yarn I had, Capretta Superwash from Knit Picks. And let me see if I remember what I did for the color here. Wrote it down because I can never remember. So Capretta Superwash is a blend of 80% Superwash Merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. Oh, and I did write it down. Smart. That was good of me. So I had, this one requires 3 skeins. So this is what I've got left. I still have the edging to finish. And so I dyed this myself. So I did it sort of I wanted like a tonal, sort of a blue. It came out more purple than I intended. But what I started with was some sky blue. So I put the yarn in with some just jacquard acid dye sky blue in the first batch. And then in the next batch of dye, I did a little bit of fuchsia with the sky blue, and that tiny bit, like it was like 1/8 of a teaspoon of fuchsia, like turned it more purple than blue. I wonder if I'd used a deeper blue, if it would have stayed more in the blue family, but the sky blue is a lighter blue, I guess. So it ended up a little more purpley than I originally intended. I think it'll still work. It's for a couple summer dresses. One is like white with some orange flowers, so I think it'll be fine with that. And then I've got a pink one. I'll have to try it with a pink to see. It might be too much color for the pink. And I don't think it's going to match. I have a blue summer dress, but this is different enough that the blues might not look right. But the problem I had when I dyed the yarn is, well, usually I take off like the ties that are originally on like the big hanks of yarn and put cotton string on basically, because the cotton won't absorb the dye color. So they'll stand out and you can really see them, and you can like pick them up by the cotton strings. And I forgot to do that this time. So what happened is the original strings, well, it really got tangled up in the dye bath because it was hard to find the strings because the strings were the same yarn, so they also got dyed. And then those strings were tied more tightly, so you end up with sort of like these little bits of resist. Oops, there goes that skein. Let me see if I can, right there. There's some spots where it's a lot lighter. So that happened because like the strings that were originally around it were much more tight. So these bits of yarn did not get to reach that dye. Like the dye didn't reach those because of that. So I've got like spots of that all over. And one of the skeins ended up more purple than the other two. So I ended up like alternating between 2 skeins for the most of the pattern. And then I was starting to run out of one of the skeins. So I introduced the third on like a wrong side row. So I was always alternating between the 3 skeins. So I think that distributed the color wise. Like from a distance, you can't see, you know, like if I look closely, I can really see like some of the colors in there. Can't even see on the camera actually, but you can see some of the resist still in there where it's lighter purple almost. But I'm pleased with how they, in the finished project, how they sort of blend together. Nothing is really striping. The garter stitch sort of hides things in between, like where I'm switching colors. And I'm pleased with how it came out. Overall, it did end up a little more purple than I originally intended. I wanted a deeper blue, but I wanted a little bit of that fuchsia in there to give it sort of like a little more depth. And I think because I used sky blue instead of like some deeper blue, that little bit of fuchsia really added more pink to it than I intended. So it came out a little bit purple, but not bad. And it's lots of fun. I really like dyeing occasionally. I still have a couple skeins. Well, the white yarn that's right there, that's what I've got left for whenever I feel like dyeing up a little project. So this was just right. 3 skeins of yarn. I've got a ton left. I'm not sure I actually needed 3. If I weigh what I had, we'll see. I'm still going to have probably a full skein left at least. So to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of that yarn, maybe something matching to go with this. I'm not sure. Probably not matching because this is more for summer. Anything I can think of is like gloves and a hat, and that would be for winter. But hopefully I should definitely have this done by the end of the month. I want to have it done this week actually, so I can take it on my trip with me. So the next thing on my needles is the Calm Night Cami by Lily Kate France, and I finished the top part from the cast on to the underarm. That part is all done. This is another one of those projects I wanted to have done for summer, obviously not done. But I'm going to probably finish, I'm going to finish up the skein of yarn I'm on. Then I'm going to stop and do all of like the neckline and armhole treatments. It's all done in double knitting, which I really like. I think it looks really nice and nicely finished. So I'm going to like stop and do all of that to make sure I've got it finished, and then I'll just use the rest of the yarn to knit the body, as long as I think I'm a skein shorter than I originally intended to buy. So figure at least I can get everything in the top done, and then if it's like a cropped length, it's not a big deal. It'll be fine over like summer dresses and stuff. But pattern was pretty easy to follow. Nothing, I like how, because you do have like armhole shaping and neckline shaping going on at the same time. So she has it all in a chart for you, so you can figure out, okay, which row you've got to do you just armhole, which row you're just doing neckline, which row you have to do both. It's all charted out, which was a really nice thing, you know, to follow that instead of having to like check it off myself to make sure everything was going on at once. So it does make a large pattern though, because every size, you know, has to have a section in the chart with all of those. But I really liked the way she did that. So that part is all done. So the rest of it's pretty simple at this point. Just knitting the body in the round to the bottom. I've got to finish like all of the finishing around the neckline and the armholes, which I'm going to do probably fairly soon. I'm almost out of this skein of yarn. I'll finish the body until that skein is pretty much gone. And then I'm going to like finish all of the top part to make sure I have enough for that. So the yarn I'm using is Lindy chain from Knit Picks. So the color is called Honey. This is a blend of cotton and linen in like a little chainette construction. So it's great for knitting in the round because the chain is providing lots of structure for like the cotton and linen. Otherwise, I wouldn't use this kind of blend of yarn for something that's knit in the round, but because it is a chainette, it's got its own sort of built-in structure. The color is more on the honey mustard side than I thought it would be. Honey to me as a color would be like a brighter yellow. It's coming across really bright on the screen, but in person it's got a more of a muted mustardy tone to it, which I mean isn't terrible. It's just not exactly what I was looking for. But it is coming right along. Pretty simple to knit. I mean, now that I'm past everything else, I'm just knitting in the round. There's like a little bit of ribbing at the underarm, but along the sides of the body, but that's it. And easy to follow. The pattern was very easy to follow, especially with the chart. So you knew exactly which increases you had to work, whether it was armhole or neckline or anything like that. So the next project on my needles is just a 1x1 rib cowl using some hand spun yarn. This is one of my earlier, I think maybe my 4th or 5th hand spun skein. So still in there with the, let me see if I can show this on here. Yeah, it's really like thick and thin kind of yarn. So that has improved. I haven't actually done much spinning. I prefer to like be outside a lot in the summer, and I don't really want to take my spinning wheel out there, and then I'm sweaty and my hands are sweaty and I don't want the fiber in my hands. So I am learning that I'm not one to spin in the summer, which is fine. It's kind of funny because it seems like a lot of people, that's what they love, to spin in the summer and then knit in the winter. I think I'm going to be the opposite. Like, I like to take a small project and sit outside, have something small, crochet on my lap. Like, I've got a crochet blanket I started working on, just small projects like this, nothing really big. I know, and I've been showing garments because I wanted to have them for the summer. But I prefer to knit small things in the summer. And I don't know, I just haven't done any spinning for like almost a month now. But so maybe it will be one of those things where I did like to do it in the winter, turn on an audiobook and, you know, just sit and spin. That was really nice, but I have not done any this summer. So sort of on like a spinning hiatus, I guess. But there's not much to say. This is Malabriogo Nube, which is 100% merino yarn. And the color is called Plomo. And for this one, yeah, it's kind of coming out like, I didn't do anything special with the fiber. I think I did like steam it with a handheld steamer because it does, like, the Malabriogo can be a little matted and hard to draft. So I steamed it first, and I think that did help. It is like this nice striping effect going on there. But other than that, I think I maybe broke it into a couple pieces, and then like I just did a chain ply. So I just spun it all onto one bobbin and then chain plied it onto another. And it's like a worsted-ish weight. So, but like thick and thin spots, but not too bad. And it is very, very soft. I really like that. So it's probably about the length where I could stop. I think I'm going to keep going though. My husband wanted something he could wear, like have around his neck and that could pull up over his mouth when he's out like snow blowing or shoveling or something. So this one is nice because it's really soft, so it won't be like scratchy on his face or anything. Just plugging away at that. I assumed I would be done last month, but I didn't take this with me as often as this is like my travel in the car, something simple, just 1x1 rib. I'm just going to probably keep going until I run out of yarn. Then he can always, like, he'll have it long enough to pull up or push down on his neck. But probably by the end of the month, I should have this one done. This one might go in the car with me while we travel, since it's just a little one skein project. But then again, it'll be finished pretty quickly, and I like to start with a new project when I'm on the road if I know I'm going to be on the road a long time. But still, should be done by the end of the month. So my next project is another garment. This one is the Gullane Tank by Isolde Teague, and I've been cracking away at this one too. I've done actually quite a lot. So this is using English tailored shoulder shaping or European shoulder shaping. You start at the back neck, and then you increase rapidly to get these sort of increased lines right across the back. So you do that first, and then you knit down to the armhole, then you stop and you pick up stitches to do the front. So the line sort of sits on your back. It's not like on the top of your shoulder, and then this part kind of curves up around the arm. And then you knit down to the underarm in the front, and this one has a V-neck, so you're doing like shaping on both sides as well. So I finished like the whole top part, and I'm going to continue working on it flat. But I wanted to like stop. I wanted to get my neckline done. I always like to have that done. I just find sometimes it's easier to tell like how everything is fitting if your neckline's done too. So I stopped and I finished the neckline, and I am at the underarm for both the front and the back now. So now I'm just working it's the back that's on my needles at the moment. So I'm just going to like knit back and forth flat, doing the back, and then I'll repeat the front, and then you sew up the sides, and then do like, well, whatever the armhole edging is. She does have lots of options. She has cup shaping, like for bust darts, which I don't think are super necessary because this is already like 4 to 6 inches of positive ease anyway. So it's already larger than your body. So I don't think I'm going to be putting any bust darts in. I think I might, I'm going to finish the back, and then I'll put it on and I'll decide, like, see where the front is sitting. But I don't think I'm going to. I think what I'll do is instead I will knit down as long as like pretty much where I think the length is, and then I'll try it on with this, like I'll put some clippy markers in the sides to mimic the seams, and I'll see if it's riding up a little in the front, I can do like some short row shaping just to bring the front down a bit without having to stop and do a bust dart, because I don't think I need it because it's already larger than my body anyway at my full bust. And I like a short row bust dart if it's a fitted sweater and I know I need to add some length to the front. I don't really like them in an oversized sweater. I don't think they're necessary, but she does have them in this pattern, which can be nice. I prefer to like custom fit them to my bust specifically, not just use like generic sizing. But it's there for those who want it. And she has lots of options. Like I'm knitting it flat and then I'll sew up the sides. She has options for knitting the body in the round as well. Obviously you can't do the top in the round. Like you have to knit everything flat to the armhole, and then she has choices. You know, you can make a decision about knitting it in the round or flat. Because I'm using a Knit Picks yarn, another Knit Picks yarn. This one is CotLin. It's a DK weight yarn. This one's a little on the heavier side and it's a cotton and linen blend. So I think the seams would be a better choice for this, just to give it some additional structure. So I'm going to be knitting the body flat and then sewing the sides up. If I were using like a wool yarn, then I would probably just knit it in the round, because the wool is generally pretty elastic and likes to hold its shape. But CotLin's pretty heavy, on the heavier side for yarns, I think. So I want to give it like as much stability as possible. And it's got a lot because of like where you work those increases on the sides on the back. But this is actually part of a knit along. I have a small membership group, and it will be opening in October to sort of the public. Right now it's like a small group that was only for people who had gone through like my Knits That Fit class. But it'll be opening in the fall. But right now we're doing a knit along, and the theme is this English tailored shoulder shaping or European shoulder shaping. There's a couple different names for it. And then everybody can just pick their own pattern that uses, this kind of shaping. And then we just, have a little knit along, we'll have a giveaway and all of that. So this is my entry. Well, I'm not going to be entering the giveaway, but my entry into the knit along is for this. So just simple stockinette stitch, V-neck, oversized sort of top. I want to knit it like tunic-ish length. I think it'll be nice to wear, with like a long sleeve t-shirt and then some leggings. So it's sort of like a very sort of sweatshirt style feel to it for me. But I've got plenty of time to knit this one. The knit along is running until the end of September, and I've already done quite a lot. So I think I'm probably going to finish some of the other garments, and this one probably I might finish some, but I don't expect to make a ton of progress on this one in the next month. Got another little Yarnable project on my needles. This one's called the Canaan Hood by Carol Feller. And this one was kind of an addictive little project, I have to say. I've got so many other things going on that I stopped working on this, but this one was really fun. Like, it is a hood, but it's also a scarf, and kind of a very short scarf. It's just one skein of yarn, but just right, for just around your neck. So you start at the top and you work one side, and then there's some short row shaping to give you the hood shape, and then you come back and pick up stitches and you do the other side of the hood. So the hood stops here. And then you continue the lace on either side, so you get sort of like a little scarf hood. And it's been an interesting knit. I've really enjoyed this one, and I'm on the last side right now. I've got this much yarn left, so I'm just going to keep going until I run out. I think a good blocking will stretch this lace right out too. But just a fun little pattern, and the lace is very simple. It's got a little I-cord garter edge. Nothing, I can't say this is super difficult. I mean, if you're brand new to short rows, it might feel a little strange, but I mean, the lace is very easy. It's very easy to track where you are in the pattern. And I like how it all sort of connects in the top. So it looks almost seamless, like this. The pickup line is right here in the middle. And then the lace runs down both sides, but really cute little pattern, fun little pattern. I think this might be my first Carol Feller pattern. I don't know if I've knit anything by her before. Very easy to follow, no issues at all. And even, I mean, like, yeah, because you have to, you're doing one side of the hood and you've got some short row shaping, and then you're stopping and you're picking up stitches and doing the other side. There's a lot going on at the beginning, but kind of I just wanted to keep knitting. Like, it was very interesting to knit. And then after that, you're just working like It's flat. You're working flat technically. It feels like you're knitting in the round because it is like this big curved shape. And then after the hood's done, you know, you split it off and you're just doing one side and then the other. But I think I did the majority of this in like one weekend, like the hood part, because it was like just very fun to knit it. And now I'm closing in on the end and just finishing up the lace. So this was fun little project. So I'm using Yarnable yarn for this. So this is the February 2025 color Cupid's Bow. So lots of really pretty pinks and purples all blended together in there. So this is my last knitting project that I've been working on this month. This is going to be for a tutorial coming up in the fall. I can't remember now which month, but in the fall for a steeked cowl. So the whole point of this is to teach steeking. So it's going to have, it's a picot folded hem, which is not folded and sewn down yet, but it's knit flat. And then that's what it will look like after. And then you start the body, you cast on with your steek stitches, and then you do the body of the cowl in this fun little 2-color pattern. And I just finished that section, bound off my steek stitches there. So now I have to do the same thing, this folded picot hem at the top, knitting that flat, and then gonna sew them both down, cut the steek, pick up stitches, and do all of that right there. That's probably my project this week. I wanna get this. This is my first sample. I'm gonna do 2 samples and then get the pattern written up. And then that'll be coming out in the fall, and then I'll record a tutorial for all of that, from the cast on to the bind off and picking up, doing the buttonholes, all of that stuff. But the main point of it is to like learn how to steek. So a small project like this is a nice one, you know, instead of tackling like a whole sweater, cutting it open, you know, start with something small if you're a little nervous about that. So that will be coming out, I can't remember now which month, maybe October, but I have it on my calendar for the fall. So this is going to be the first sample. So the yarn is Knit Picks palette, and the colors are white and rouge. I had to stop and check. I couldn't remember. The one I'll be doing for the tutorial is like a shade of blue and like a light gray. I can't remember the color names, but I'll show you that in the fall when I work on that one. So this is just the first sample right now. So I really like this little checkered stitch pattern. I think it's really cute. So yeah, a little bit of sewing to do, the steeking, picking up stitches. I've got to work that out. And the pattern's pretty much like the draft of the pattern is written. Still trying to decide on the buttonholes. I was thinking of, I'm going to do another picot folded hem, but I'm trying to decide how to do the buttonholes in that. So that's the only thing I'm still trying to sort of figure out. But I've got time. I'm going to probably finish the top part of the folded hem today. And then tomorrow I'll sit down and figure out what I want to do with the buttonholes. But I have a lot of extra yarn, but I think it's only going to take me 1 skein each for these, so a little 2 skein project. So using Knit Picks palette, which is 100% Peruvian Highland wool, which is I've really, it's a 2-ply yarn, really nice for things like lace and color work. I really like it for color work. They've got lots of great colors, but we're going to stick with just 2 colors for this one, just to keep it on the simpler side if you're new to like color work and steeking and stuff. So that will be coming up in the fall. I also have a crochet project on my needles at the moment, and I'm all tangled up in yarn right here. Oh, that's the one I'm still working on. Let's not lose my stitch. So I've only finished 1 block. So this is the Indigo Dreams blanket by Janie Crow, and I'm using some leftover yarns. I've done 2 of her blankets in the past, so I've got a lot of leftover yarn from those 2 blankets. So instead of buying a bunch of new yarn to do the colors here, I'm doing sort of like I like the way it looks like it's like quilt blocks, but I wanted to do like a scrap quilt, so I'm using all of my leftover colors. So as I do each block, I'm picking out the colors for that block, and hopefully at the end, I think most of the colors kind of go together. So right now I've got these 2 shades of pink and then like a butter yellow in there. So that is this one right here. I've got to do 8 of these squares. So this is my first one. It's all done quite large, this one. And I'm partway through another. So kind of, I like the big floral motifs. I think they're lots of fun and they're very interesting. These plain blocks with just like basic crochet, I get bored quickly, but I think this will be good for travel. We've got a long drive coming up, so I think I might take this with me because, you know, once I remember how many stitches I need across, like it's not hard to you know, just I'm switching between 3 colors as I do it, and that's it. So I think this might be one of my travel knitting projects because I've got 8 of these to do and I don't want to move on to the next motif until I have all 8 done. That's sort of my reward instead of like, otherwise I think I would save all the boring ones for last. So I'm making myself do all 8 before I can move on. But I think a good way to do that would be to take it on the road with me. So I don't have to, you know, because then, I mean, I'm on the road and, you know, if that's what I've got to work on, then it's something mindless I can work on and get some of these knocked out. Maybe I'll even get all of them finished on that trip. We'll see. I don't know how much I should have measured. I'm going to I'll weigh them and see how much yarn each one takes and see. I've got quite a bit of yarn, but I think I can get all 8 of them out of the same 3 colors, hopefully. I am trying to match up the blocks that way, so there is at least a little bit of not too much scrappiness going on. Like I'm trying to, like, you know, all of these 8 blocks I want in the same 3 colors, but we'll see. But I think this is probably going to be one of the projects I take on the road with me. And I think I'm going to grab a skein of Yarnable and maybe I'll cast on a new little 1 skein shawl project, but I'll save that for the road too. That'll give me 2 small projects that I can take with me. Well, I mean, it's a blanket, but I'm not taking the whole blanket, this one here. So it's not a small project, but 1, you know, 8 blocks, that's pretty small. So I think I'll take that, and I think, yeah, I'll wait and I'll cast on a new project for the road. That'll be probably might be the only 2 things I take. We'll see. I don't know. I gotta think about that. I mean, because I'm in the car on the road for like 8 or 9 hours going there and then same coming back. And then of course while I'm there. So I might need to take another project. That's the other, like, yeah, packing for the trip is one thing. Thinking about the projects I want to take, another thing completely. But I don't love to take like my good needles, like my Chow-Goos or like my good interchangeables. So I like to choose a project where I want to make sure I have like a fixed circular or some other needles I can take. Then if something happens, I'm not losing like my good needles. Does anybody else do that? I see people travel with like all of their interchangeable needles and I'm like, no, I can't do that. I would be so scared of losing them or having them stolen. They stay at home. They do not go anywhere. I try to use like a fixed circular or, you know, something else, or crochet hook. I don't mind, you know, if something happens to that, that's no big deal. I can just get another hook. But yeah, I'm not taking a full set. I can't imagine traveling with like all of my needles. Like I would be so nervous about using them. But anyway, that's a totally different conversation. That's all of the projects that I'm currently working on. Upcoming projects, I don't have any at the moment. I do have like hand spun gloves. The yarn's all spun for those. I haven't cast them on yet. I do want to have a new like travel on the road cast on. Maybe I'll take the gloves too. That could be a good small project to take. That would give me 3 projects. I'm going to do like a new 1 skein shawl cast on, something fun, take my crochet. I think that's it for, yeah, there's not really much upcoming as well right now. I've got a lot of projects, a lot of tops and garments. I want to get those finished as much as possible. At least, yeah, the Calm Night Cami and the Shrug. I'd like to have them done by the end of the month. We'll see. Maybe I'll take that Cami. It's not super big. I could travel and knit that. So I got to think about that. Travel knitting, it's like a whole thing to figure out what knitting and projects you want to take with you. That's it for all of the knitting projects. I do have a few more things to show. And of course, we always have to talk about a book. This month's book, we've been on a theme of like stitch dictionaries and stitch dictionaries. That's the thing we've been talking about recently because they're a great resource for designers if you want to design garments. You know, you like to throw some stitch patterns in there, but I like them too if I'm just like knitting something for myself. Or I just want to, you know, like knit a little cowl, but I want to put a stitch pattern in it. Or, you know, I don't have to be a designer. I can just be knitting something for myself as well. And stitch pattern books are great for those people too. So that's why I want to share them. And they're not just for designers. If you're one of those people who loves to like just, you know, find something fun and add it to a garment that you already like, maybe you have like a vanilla pattern, whether it's a sock or a sweater or whatever, and you want to add something to it, stitch dictionaries are a great way to find lots of things. And one that I really like is The Magic of Shetland Lace Knitting by Elizabeth Lovick. This one is really good for the lace knitters. So let's go to the overhead and take a look at this one. So here it is, The Magic of Shetland Lace Knitting by Elizabeth Lovick. So you don't have to just be like, want to knit super light and airy lace. You can use these in other projects. I've done lace in like a bulky yarn, you know, and it can be used in lots of different ways. But I like the stitch patterns in here because they are sort of classic, like classic Shetland lace. So here's the contents that you're going to find. all of the essential stuff. Then this section is really fabulous. If you're new to lace or you just want like a refresher, this section's really good. Reading charts, edges and seams, picking up stitches, mistakes, blocking your lace, or designing, putting motifs together. Really good section. And then the stitch directory, they call it in here. And I love like everything is these nice big panels, these colorful panels, so you can really see the pretty lace. Then there's a section of projects as well. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 projects in here. And she's very generous with her information on like designing, how to take these motifs and sort of plug them into a design. And these are a good place to start, like a hat and a scarf set, a shawl, a couple of shawls, baby set, mittens, socks. And then of course, all of like the basic things you'd have in the back, and index abbreviations and all of that stuff. But what everybody comes for, of course, are the, you know, like these classic Shetland designs. But I like the book. It's got lots of clear pictures, lots of like information about lace knitting in general, the tools you're going to need. This is really helpful. I teach a class on lace knitting, and I did something like this in my demonstration because I thought it was such a valuable thing to see how the same motif and the same yarn is used, but changing the needle size, what that does to a lace project. Like none of these are wrong or right. They're just like, what's your intended reason for using that lace? Do you want something like a tiny little motif, or do you want like a big oversized open motif? Then, I mean, it's up to you as a knitter what kind of a design you're looking at. But I found that really useful. So I ended up adding that to my class as well, like taking the same, not this stitch pattern, but the same idea, and doing it on 3 different swatches to show like how one lace pattern can look with 3 different needle sizes and the same yarn as well. And I found this really helpful, like just like different types of yarns that you might want to use for lace knitting. Oh, and this section on designing is really, really good. Like the different ways to do the shaping for a shawl. And more shawl constructions here too, not just like circular shawls. And then there's the stitch directory, which I love how instead of having to look through like the whole book to see all of them, they are all right here. Like that, I really appreciate that. Sometimes you have a stitch dictionary and you have to like scroll through. You have to flip through every single page to see all of them. I love it when a directory has this, like everything is all laid out for you, and then you can just go to the page number without having to like flip through the whole book to see all of the stitch patterns. They're all right there. So there's like all over patterns like these. There are also like insertions, like if you're thinking like a top-down triangle shawl, you've got like sort of that spine in the middle. You could put something like this in the middle. There are all of these edgings as well. And then the like larger motifs that you can put in. Just so many beautiful things in here. So each pattern is going to be like this. It's going to have like a large picture of it. And then it's going to like have your written instructions and your charted instructions as well. But I just think it's great when they do this. Like they just have it all right there for you. You only have to flip to these pages and then choose the ones that you'd like to look at. And then the end of the book, of course, has some patterns as well. And everything is everything you'd need for the pattern is like in there. And I like this one. It's not on like a light open airy yarn. It's a heavier weight, but just really pretty classic design. But this is a really good book for those who want to do lace knitting, but you don't have to just use these in like a full-on, you know, lace shawl project. You can add lace to any kind of project. I've done like a cowl and a big bulky yarn and I put a lace pattern in there. But so don't be scared of lace. It's just yarn overs and decreases. But this is a really good book, and it's got like just very classic lace patterns. Well, Shetland lace, obviously, but you can use for lots of different projects. Highly recommend this book. I used to get this one from the library quite a bit when I was doing some lace designing, but I finally just bought my own copy because I was using it so much, and I'm really glad to have this one on my shelf. And if you do want to sort of design your own shawls, the design section in here is really great as well. So highly recommend this book. Got a few acquisitions. The first is my Nest Fiber Club. It comes in a bag just like this. So I'm going to sit and braid this up in a second. Really love the colors in this one. Like they're just nice and warm, and well, I always like a good pink. So I'm not sure how I'm going to break this one up. I don't know, I've got to sit. I like to sit and look at the colors and think about how this one's going to get spun. I haven't been doing much spinning though, but probably as it gets cooler I will. But this one is on Falkland. Don't think I've spun Falkland. It's not super soft. I don't know what this is going to be yet. Maybe a pair of socks? I don't know. There's no nylon in it. I have to research that. I wanted to like spin for socks. We will have to see like what kind of fibers are good for that. But the color's called Block Party. This is the June 2025. So lots of fun pinks in there, and then oranges and reds, and very warm and bright colors. So I'm going to braid this up and put it on my shelf. I also have another fiber subscription, the Sweet Georgia's Secret Stash. This one's only quarterly, which is nice because I don't know if I could handle 2 braids every month, especially where I'm not doing much spinning right now. But it comes, you can either get a single braid or double. So I get the double braid. It always comes with like a little gift, or well, a little trinket or something with it. This one comes with a cozy cake yarn holder. I've never used one of these. So anyway, to put around your cake or your ball of yarn to keep it from collapsing, I guess. I always pull from the outside so my skeins don't really collapse, but I guess this would be good if you're like a pull from the inside kind of person. So that came with it. And then this one is on a Pullworth and silk base. So Crystal Shard is the color here. So these beautiful shades of blue and some purple and a bit of gray in there. So no idea what I'm going to do with this either, but I like getting these in the mail. They're just nice to get, and I'm going to have a nice little stash of them. So when I get back to my spinning, probably in the fall, then they will be all there for me. And I like that this one is a 2 braid club. I've got another braid here, so I can do, you know, like a bigger project or maybe put it with something else. I think that's the nice thing about getting a little collection is like if I want to spin for a larger project, then I can like maybe pull some other colors together and like have enough to do a bigger project. But Pullworth and silk, I'm looking forward to that. I haven't done much with, I've done a lot of like basic wool fibers. I've been a little nervous about doing things like silk and, well, even superwash is like, feels very slippery. So I'd like to, maybe in the fall, I'll give some of those a try. I'm getting used to the regular wool, but I do need to get back to spinning. I don't want to like lose the skills. And I feel like, you know, I started at Christmas, so I would try to do at least 10 minutes a day all winter just to, you know, when you're learning something new, I think it's important to do a little bit every day just to like build that muscle memory. I'm hoping I'm not losing that muscle memory because I haven't been doing any for the last month or so, but I don't feel like spinning in the summer. Maybe if I could like take my wheel outside, maybe I would. I don't know. Got to think about that, but maybe I'm just going to be a spin in the winter kind of person. The last thing to show is the new Yarnable subscription. So they're having some updates over there. We've got a new updated label, Hypnotic Yarn label right there. So the new color, this one is Saltwater Taffy. This is the July color, Saltwater Taffy. It's very light pink, lavender-ish shades. You can see like there's a couple different colors in here. So really pretty colors. I like the new label too. So the extras that came with this, a cup cozy, like to put on your mug or whatever, which I will put on mine here, and a strawberry little lip balm, which my daughter already has claimed. So lip balm right there. Oh, it reminds me of like strawberry shortcake. Did anybody ever have any of those little dolls? That's what that smells like. And then some really cute pencils. Adulting is hard. With some fun sayings on the back or on the pencils. Another fine day ruined by responsibility. You know you're old when happy hour is a nap, etc., etc. So fun little pencils. I'm probably going to just put these all around. Oh, too old for Snapchat, too young for Life Alert. Oh, I like that one. So very cute pencils, really nice yarn. I was actually thinking this might be the yarn that'll be my summer project this month my travel on the road, like one skein shawl. Maybe this will be the one I take with me. But anyway, that's the Yarnable subscription for the month. So that leads us right into our giveaway for the month, which is a Yarnable. You're going to get a 1-month package or subscription, not a subscription. You're getting 1 month anyway. Not this month. I think you'll get the next month. So you'll get, this is June's, so you'll get July's. Is this June? No, this is July. you'll get August's box when that one is released. So this giveaway is open worldwide. To enter the giveaway, you're just going to leave a comment down below. I'm going to put up like just a screen share of the sneak peek of the colors from the past year. So just tell me which colors you really liked, and I'll know that that's how you want to enter the giveaway. And then next Tuesday, July 29th, I will use a random comment generator to choose one of those entries, one of those comments. Then I will tag you and let you know that you won, and you've got to send me an email. That's the only way I can get in touch with you. I can't email anybody. You have to email me. So I will tag your username on YouTube. Then you have to get in touch with me and tell me your mailing information and on the box you'd like to get, whether you want the sock weight or the DK or the worsted weight. And I will send that information along to Cheryl at Hypnotic Yarns, and she will send out your giveaway package. So to enter that giveaway, just leave a comment down below telling me which colors you are inspired by. And it's open worldwide. And for the fine print, YouTube is not involved in this giveaway in any form. I'm hosting the giveaway. Yarnable is providing the giveaway prize. They're sponsoring the giveaway. And all of the other fine print details are down below. One last note, if you're in a country outside of the US and you might have some customs or duties charges, those would be your responsibility. I'm not going to pay those for you. Yarnable's not going to pay those for you. So only enter this if you know that you are able to pay those customs or duties taxes in case that happens. Sometimes it does. But you are responsible for that part of the giveaway. So all of the other rules and regulations are linked down below in the video description box, so you can read all of the rules if you would like to. Everything else we've discussed today is also down there as well. So that's it for this episode of the podcast, and I will be back at the end of August with our next episode. That's it till then. I'm taking a little summer vacation. So if you are new here and you've missed past episodes, I'm going to put the playlist right here and you can catch up on past episodes from this season. And if you've been around for a while, I'll let YouTube recommend a video that you might have missed, and you can click right there, and I'll see you in the next video.